Hello, I'm back. So we're continuing our project. So as I was telling you, here we have our book. So we have the magnet here, the closure. So we open it like this. We have pocket, pocket, pocket. Open this, we have a pocket right here. We have the envelope right here. And then when we close it, here, we have this flap that opens. So we'll be working on this side for now. I'm wondering if I have left enough gusset here. This is where pretty much everything is going to happen. So we have on the original from Paper Crafter 45, what she did, she only had this flap here and she had the little tuck spot here. So we're going to make more interactions there. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go again using this part of my paper. So I'm going to measure, like maybe it doesn't have to be a specific measurement. So like maybe ½ inch from there and ½ inch from there. So from here to here. So you measure, that measures like I don't know, 6.5. So I'm going to measure that 6.5. So it's going to go here to here. And also you measure pretty much the same as from there, the edge of your flip or your flap to the first line of the gussets. Okay, so I measure that right now, cut that right now here. This I'm going to keep for later, just to keep every single piece of scrap. And very often what I do is I create my albums according to the flaps that I have. This I don't like. I'm going to put it a little bit further. I thought I didn't leave enough. I can call it gusset, like ribbon gusset. I like to have like at least a big $1/4 inch. So this is going to be good this way. Okay, so this one here we're going to score maybe, I don't know, $1/4 inch, $1/4 inch here. And this one, because it's not going to be on the sides, we don't need to taper that. So we just fold out on the fold, and I would round like 2 corners. And what I will do also is I will make another line for a gusset, because this is going to be glued on here. So this is going to be another flap, but I'm going to make a waterfall here, so I need to have some kind of a gusset so that it closes properly. So I'm going to make another line. Maybe I would go like a 1/16 of an inch, really not much. And then I'm going to set that straight. Yeah. Okay, I think I put, I went randomly. I think I put 1/8 of an inch, but it doesn't matter if it's too much. So here I have the gusset. I wouldn't go more than that. That's 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to glue that on. So on this is going to be glued on here. So you need to put the glue on the inside. Okay. Don't need that much. And then you try and center it the best you can. And again, you have to clear your gussets. Do not glue your gussets on. You have to see the line of your gusset and then center that so that you have the same amount here as here, and then it has to fold really nicely. So you see you have this little flap that opens like this. It's just glued on here, and then you can just press on that. So that's done. Now if I want to make a waterfall, first I have to mat this. So I'm going to use some paper here. I'm going to pick some paper from my collection. So this is a little bit more than 6 by 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different one. If I use this one here, get this part, I don't like that. This one here, I get the corner here. I don't want that. So I'm going to use another one. Let me get some I didn't bring any here. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get more sheets. My paper collection. What did I do with it? I thought I would be using more of the 6x6s. I just got the one page here that was more for the front, but I need to have more. So I'm going to go through my papers here, and it's going to be something that is going to be, you're not going to see too much of it because it's going to be the waterfall. So I'm going to get this sheet right here, and I think I would be going with this part here. I like this part and here. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to measure that. So I'm leaving about a 1/16 of an inch from the side here. Same here. I do the same on there. So I'm going to cut that. Just what I need, because I use the scraps for other parts of the project, so that's why I never cut more than what I need. Keep all my sheets intact. So I really like the pink here, so this is going to go here. So since we have rounded our corners right here, so we're going to round those corners here, and here I'm going to distress around it. Maybe I need to add some water, because you know when you're distress ink, if you see that you don't have much, like it's not coming on your little tool here, just add some water, not much, a few drops, and then it'll be all nice and going on your paper. Okay, and make sure you always ink the cut of the paper, because it's not very nice to see that everything looks vintage, looks old and aged, but your cut is white, so it's not working. So before you make a waterfall, always make this you map the paper, the page where you're going to be having your waterfall first. And what I'm going to do, I'll see later. Okay, so I'm just gluing that on. Could always use score tape. I don't use score tape because I think it's very expensive. So I use wet glue. And also what it does, wet glue, once it's dried, it makes your pages so sturdier compared to this score tape. What I do also, since I've lost my bone folder, I'm using my ruler. So I'm doing this right now. Make sure you do that, because if you don't, you get to see where you put the glue on your underneath your piece of paper. It'll show, especially if you have plain solid paper. Okay, now I'm going to make a little waterfall. So I'm going to use maybe just two flaps. So I'm going to use maybe this much. So that's, I would say 3.5 inches. So you cut two of the same. And I think it might be a little bit too wide. You can do whatever width you want, as long as it's inside here. Like, you don't want to see the waterfall coming from the sides. Like, you have to be within your length here. So I'm going to move a little bit, because we need to have like a 1/4 inch fold, so it will make the page even narrower. So either they can put two, well, you can still do that, and they can put two photos, like kind of wallet size photos, or they can put the one and then journal on the side. So I'm just going to leave it like that. Now, one thing I want to tell you, very often when I want to score a straight line, I use the paper trimmer. But I would suggest when you do when you make a waterfall, you have to use this, because when you put your paper here and then you score it. Sometimes it's a little crooked, and this would make a whole difference. Like, it would not work, because then when you open your flaps, they're straight when you have the two flaps there, but when you open them, they get crooked. That's because the lines were not straight. So I suggest that you take your scoreboard and then do your two lines, and you make sure you're all square in the corner. That's the best way to have your cards the same, and fold it really square so that you have a functioning waterfall. Very often I've used the scoreboard, the paper trimmer to make my waterfalls, and I find that it's crooked, so it's not working. Here I taper just a little bit, not too much, so that once you put the piece of paper to cover your little hinges, then you don't get to see the corners. Okay, so here I put the glue on the one side, on one card. I make sure I'm centered, and then I will not go all the way here because I want to see some of the paper. So I'm going to go just like 1/4 of an inch or whatever lower, and then you make sure it's centered, like you have the same amount here that you have here on the sides, and it's straight. Has to be straight. So that's the one. Could have rounded my corners before I do that. I'm going to do that afterwards. And then you can put whatever you want, but I'm going to put it just underneath that one so that I follow the line, and make sure that you are square, like this is the same as this one. Same here, and square. Now what I do is I check to see if it's straight here, which it is, and then I open them and check to see if they are, and they are. So it's perfect. So just because you worked with your scoreboard, that makes the whole difference. Everything is so easier. Everything is working. That's the best way to do it. So that's our waterfall. Easy enough, huh? I could make a third one, but I don't want to put too many photos in there. It's just like mini album. So these are right here. So this is going to go on top here. So what you can do, you can either put a little tab here if you want to use it to open, or you could put a magnet here and then have a magnet here and add the ears together. But what I'm going to do is just leave it that way, and because when you close it, everything stays in anyways. It's all tucked in, so you don't really need to have anything there. So I'm going to leave it that way. Now I'm going to mat this one, but first I have to distress around the bag, which I have not done before. So I'm going to do that here. I could have used black soot ink because my papers are black, but I didn't want to put black because I think it's just looking vintage. That's what I want. That's the look I want. Here I'm going to redo a little bit on my gusset here because it's not straight. Ink all of that. It's better if you ink the whole thing because otherwise you get to see it, and it's better if you don't see that orangey yellow. Okay. Okay, now we are going to do this one. So I'm going to make put something that is the background, and it has to be really flush because you don't have any. Either you can put like a black matting and then put something on top of it. I think that's what I'm going to do. It's going to look nicer. So I have an extra piece right here. It's going to be just fine. So far we've used two sheets. This is a little extra that I have. So I'm going to do this. Measure from one side to the gusset. Make sure you do not include the gusset in your measurement. You do not want to glue that down. Otherwise it will not work. So you'll have done that for nothing. So here I have this line right here. So this is the first time I really mat this part, and I think it's a good idea because otherwise you have to have your pattern paper go all the way to the side of the bag, and sometimes not as nice. So I'm going to put some ink right here too. going to get to see some of it. So I'm going to do that like this. Glue that on. And this I'm going to matte, like put a background sheet. And then after that I'm going to make pockets. You can make the pockets right now, like I mean right on top of that. Wouldn't matter here because I have fabric. I'm going to put a little drop of, this is 3-in-1 glue that I use for paper on fabric and fabric on fabric. I could have made that a little bit bigger, but that's because my gusset is not included in there. So I'm good. Lower here. Could have made it a little bit bigger. But anyways, you get the idea anyways. So I'm going to do that right now. And then I'm going to pick the paper that I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bird's nest. It's really cute. It could be on the top. So I'm going to go this side here. So this is going to be 1/8 of an inch. And it doesn't have to go all the way in. So I'm going to go just a couple of inches. And then here to here. Where's my mark? Okay. What do I do with my mark? Right here. There's a piece here that's not right. So I'm going to have to remove a little bit of that. So I'm going to go, my mark is right here. And I'm going to... No, I decided to have the eggs on the top here. So I'm going to go this way. Sorry. Sometimes you have to change your mind, so it makes your projects look nicer. It's just good. So it's going to go like this, and then just some of it. Let's do the whole thing. And then here to the end of the eggs. And then I'm going to remove this little strip because when I remove that page from the paper pad, it kind of ripped. I hate when that does that. I should put a little bit more did I cut this? Yeah, because this is just the top of the pockets. I like to make 3 pockets because then it gives like 6 spaces because the photos are not that big. You have either 3 large photos, 1 in each pocket, or 2 small ones, one next to the other, and then you have, since you have 3 pockets, that's like 6 pockets. People really like that. On the cut, on the cut, on the cut, all around. So this is going to be my backing. So I'm going to use this here, glue the whole thing. So the first part of your page that you have pockets, you have to glue the whole thing on. Okay. So you have some on the edges, the corners, not too much in the center. I'm going to glue that on here. Yeah. So I have all this. Now I'm going to use some of this. Not enough. This one is big enough, but I need more. So I'm going to use another sheet that I have here. I'm going to make some, this is going, I'm going to cut, I have one here, I'm going to cut 2 more. So I would put like 1/2 inch strips. You don't have to decide the length as long as it's at least the length of your page here. So you do one like this, and then another one like this. So I have the 3 strips for my 3 pockets, and then I decide which paper I'm going to put there. So I decided that I would use the bird's nest. It's going to be too big, so I'm going to have to use something else. I have to use some design paper. 6 inches is too small, so I'm going to use another sheet. I would go with a couple of just the backing, like not the big pattern paper. Just gonna go with the back, like they have smaller. The one that I don't like. Let me check this. The one that I don't like. This one I don't like, so I'm gonna use the back of that. They had problems here. Look at that. Did not work well. Because usually this is all nice. Okay, so I'm gonna use this. They kind of did not have enough ink in their machine when they printed that. Okay, so I'm gonna use this part here. Telling you this part here. Oh, okay, it's gonna look vintage. So you need to have the same length as the backing of your page that's gonna have the pockets. So I'm going to get one of this one, and I'm gonna make my pocket only like 3/4 of an inch, because your pockets are not going all the way down. That makes them not as bulky, which is good. So this is one of them. I'm gonna find another one. Maybe I could get one of this. Okay, I'm gonna get one of this. So another one that's gonna be like 3/4 of an inch, same length at least. Here. This here. So I have two pockets here, one like this, one like this, and then I'm gonna get something that has a better design on for the last one here. These are not my favorite papers to work with, so I'm going to use this one here. So what you do, first you distress your two little flaps, just on the top and also on the sides. So on the side. I'm going to measure those two, make sure that they're the same length. This is very important. If you have one that is a little shorter, your pockets will be crooked. So I have two here. This paper is so soft. Maybe because I spent the whole winter in here, my stash here. Okay, so that's that. And then you need to have the same. Okay, first we're going to do this. So we're going to glue that on. Those little strips. So I'm going to put just on the top of what I want to have my pocket. On the top part in the back. Just one little line of glue. Not much. And then you put your strip right there on top of it. Just like that. And then you make sure you're right on the edge there. And it doesn't matter if it's more, we're going to cut everything together at the end. And you make sure that your little border here is the same length here as it is here, so that it's nice and straight. That's one. You do the same with the other one. I'm going to go this way. It's easier. Like this. Same length as this one. Little borders. Same width, I should say. Press on it. Make sure that you're all the way to the edge. It's hard sometimes. I've got glue on my edge, which I don't like. Okay, let's move that like this. It's pretty close. That one. And then you're going to glue those on. So here, but before you glue that on, you want to get the last strip. So you're going to have a pocket like here. The other one's going to be right on top of it. If you would have wanted a larger pocket here, you just would have cut just a little longer. So you put that pocket, that extra pocket on top of that one. So whatever I've got left here for the other pocket, I'm going to include that 45 cents sign there. So I'm just going to go, you have to be at least that it covers the pocket that's on top of it. So I'm going to go like this here. And I'm going to cut this here. This is going to be my third pocket. Here. That's my third pocket. I distress that. Now this one you have to distress all around because it's going to show. It's the top pocket, the one that's going to be on top of all the other ones. So it's going to show here. So make sure I have distress ink all around. I really need to add some water on that thing. It's not coming out. Okay, so that's good. So I'm going to do the same with this. And you have to wait to glue those three pockets together at the same time because you want to measure to make sure you have the same measure for each pocket on your piece. So let's try and do this one right. So right on the edge, a little shorter here, a little shorter here.